One Dwight D. Eisenhower, quoted in Stephen Whitfield. Whilst propagandists in the Eisenhower administration liked to talk of deploying spiritual weapons, the Department of Defense launched a program of expenditure on a stockpile of nuclear and non-nuclear weapons, amounting to $354 billion in less than 6 years. 2. Daniel Borston, quoted in Taylor D. Littleton and Maltby Sykes, Advancing American Art. 3. Paul Nitz, quoted in Evan Thomas, The Very Best Men. 4. Eisenhower's ancestors had been Mennonites, but when they settled in Texas there was no Mennonite church, so they read from the Bible. 5. John Kobler, Henry Luce, His Time, Life and Fortune, London, MacDonald, 1968. 6. Ibid. 8. Sidney Hook, The New Failure of Nerve, Partisan Review, January 1953. In December 1951, the director of the Psychological Strategy Board recommended to Tracy Barnes of the CIA that Niebuhr be approached as a possible consultant to the PSB. Gordon Gray to Tracy Barnes, 21st of December 1951, GGDDE. This, combined with Niebuhr's position as chairman of the advisory committee of the policy planning staff, which oversaw the creation of the CIA, meant that the theologian was ideally placed to make God an instrument of national policy. 9th Whittaker Chambers, Witness, Chicago, Regnery, 1952. 10th Harry S. Truman, Address to Congress, 12th of March 1947, printed in Harry S. Truman, Memoirs, Year of Decisions. 11 George Santayana, quoted in Gore Vidal, Palimpsest, London, Ansichts Deutsch, 1995. 12 Billy Graham, quoted in Stephen Whitfield, Op. Cit. 13 Norman Mailer, Armies of the Night, New York, New American Library, 1968. 14 Arthur Miller, Time Bends, 15th Ibid. 16 Leslie Fiedler, quoted in Taylor D. Littleton and Maltby Sykes, Op. Cit. Saul Stein to Aware, Inc., 28th of January 1955, ACCF NYU, 18 Ibid. 20th Aware, Inc., to Saul Stein, 26th of February 1955, ACCF NYU. Saul Stein to Whittaker Chambers, 20th of December 1954, ACCF NYU. 22nd Whittaker Chambers. 23 Andre Malraux, quoted in Stephen Whitfield, Op-Ed. 24 Arthur Miller, Op. Cit. 25 Joint Chiefs of Staff Presentation of Militant Liberty to Chief of Naval Operations, 16th of December 1955, PHT. 26 Christopher Simpson, Interview, Washington, June 1994. 27 Joint Chiefs of Staff, Report of Conference in California in connection with Cornelius Vanderbilt Whitney's American Film Series and Militant Liberty, 5th of July 1956, PSB, HT. 28 Ibid, 29th Cornelius Vanderbilt Whitney, quoted in Ibid. 30 Joint Chiefs of Staff, Ibid. 30 Arthur Miller, Op. Cit. 32nd of Corvid, 3030 C. Jackson to Henry Luce, 19th May 1953, CDJ DDE. 34 Turner Shelton, Motion Picture Service to Cecil B. DeMille, 11th May 1953 E. 35th Jeffrey Sherlock to Andrew Smith, Motion Picture Service, 28th of September 1954, WHO NSC DDE. 36th Ibid. 37 Carlton Alsop, Hollywood Reports, 1953, CDJ DDE. 38 Ibid. Despite the stand taken by the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People against the stereotypical representation in films of Negroes as bumbling, comical characters, Hollywood made no positive advance in its treatment of African Americans on screen. Indeed, between 1945 and 1957, the number of black movie performers declined from 500 to 125. In the 19S3 film Skirts Ahoy, the black musician Billy Eckstein was forbidden to look at any white actress during his performance. 39 Ibid. 40 Walter L. Hickson, Parting the Curtain, Propaganda, Culture, and the Cold War, 1945 to 1961, New York, Macmillan, 1997. 41 C.D. Jackson to Abbott Washburn, 30th January 1956, CDJ DDE. 42nd C.D. Jackson to Nelson Rockefeller, 14th of April 1955, CDJ DDE. In the same letter, C.D. Jackson warned his CIA colleagues not to give Smarty's idea of using these artists as intelligence sources. I don't think that these people are emotionally capable of playing a double role, but he did agree that after they return, they can of course be skillfully debriefed. 43rd, John Parker, USIA, to Saul Stein, 20th of October 1955, ACC NYU. 40 Sidney Hook, Report on the International Day Against Dictatorship and War, Partisan Review, Vol. 16, Higher 7. Fall 1949. 45 T.S. Colohan to Saul Stein, October 1955, AC NYU. 46. Eric Johnston, quoted in Walter L. Hickson, Oppat Sit. U.S. government propagandists were uniformly wary of Steinbeck, and indeed that whole school of American literature deemed to carry loaded social data. In July 1955, a psychological warfare expert urged the government to withdraw its sponsorship of the Museum of Modern Art's photographic exhibition. The Family of Man, because it portrayed American society in a grapes of wrath type of display of an old or wealthy upper class, and left the impression that all U.S. laborers are downtrodden or exploited, and as such was a communist propagandist's dream. P.J. Corso, Operations Coordinating Board, July 1955, OCB Sen DDE. One critic detected in all this a paranoid quest for decontamination. Tom Hayden, quoted in Andrew Ross, No Respect. 47 Carlton Alsop, Op.Sit. 48 reference to the CIA's Hollywood formula is made in C.D. Jackson's log journal for 15th of May 1953. Although heavily censored by government classification experts, the entry is the only known documentary evidence that the CIA had developed a formal strategy for penetrating the motion picture industry. According to the diary, C.D. met that day with Tracy Barnes's deputy John Baker, de Neufville's recruiter, to discuss the CIA's Hollywood formula, which appears to have been the concern of Baker, Barnes and Wisner, with Alsop as their man on the West Coast. 49 Carlton Alsop, Opta Sifty Ibid. 51 I52. E. Howard Hunt, Undercover, Memoirs of an American Secret Agent, California, Berkeley Publishing Corporation, 1974. 53 de Rochemont had one favor as an independent producer with House on 92nd Street, in which valiant FBI agents did combat with German spies. The film was praised for its realistic. De Rochemont called it nonfiction, restaging of an actual case from J. Edgar Hoover's files. According to one historian, de Rochemont had a career-long obsession with spies, a useful credential for someone who was about to work with several of them. Lawrence de Neufville, who met him in England during the filming of Animal Farm, recalled de Rochemont's excitement at hanging around with guys from the agency like he was in one of his own films. Lawrence de Neufville, telephone interview, April 1997. 54, Richard Hirsch, PSB, to Tracy Barnes, comment on Animal Farm script, 23rd of January 1952, PSB HT. 55th official financing for 1984 included a $100,000 subsidy from the United States Information Agency to make what its chairman described as the most devastating anti-communist film of all time. Tony Shaw, The British Cinema, Consensus and the Cold War 1917 to 1967, unpublished manuscript. 56. Alan Sinfield, Literature, Politics and Culture in Post-War Britain, London, Athlone Press, 1997. 57. The Solstein to Peter Rathbun, 30th of January 1955, ACCF, NYU. 58. Ibid. 59. Ibid. 60th Ibid. 60 Worth Ibid. Solstein, Memo to the American Committee for Cultural Freedom, 11th of January 19 CF, NYU. 63. Isaac Deutscher, The Mysticism of Cruelty, quoted in Alexander Cockburn, Corruptions of Empire, London, Verso, 1987. 64. Ibid. 65. George Orwell, in Peter Davison, ed., The Complete Works of George Orwell, London, Seeker and Warburg, 1998. 66. Richard Rees, quoted in Michael Sheldon, Orwell, The Authorized Biography, London, Heinemann, 1991. 67. George Orwell, in Peter Davison, Op.Sit. Orwell was fiercely anti-Zionist, believing that the Zionist Jews everywhere hate us and regard Britain as the enemy, more even than Germany. For this reason, he advised IRD that it was bad policy to try to curry favor with your enemies, and warned them not to think that anti-Semitism is a strong card to play in anti-Russian propaganda. George Orwell to Celia Kerwin, 6th of April 1949, IRD Pluff Crow. 68, Adam Watson, telephone interview, August 1998, my italics. 69, Bernard Crick, Evening Standard, 11th July 1996. 70, Peregrine Worsthorn, The Spectator, 29th of July 1996. 71st, George Orwell, The Prevention of Literature, Polemic, No. 2, 1945. 72nd, George Orwell, The Freedom of the Press, 1944, printed in New Statesman, 18th of August 1995. 73rd Bid.